so I'm a high school math teacher. My academic year is going to be done in 2 weeks. So I've been teaching sort of like my full-time teaching job ends in a couple of weeks. We have graduation, final exams, and I'm off. The school has been very gracious to say, I have a 1-year sabbatical, promote the book, travel around, do interviews, just educate people about Bitcoin, even if it's sort of an apolitical, like, here's the basics. There's a huge demand for that. So I'll have a full year to just, talk to people about the book, talk to people about Bitcoin, and educate people.
And that's obviously very exciting.
It's huge. It's an honor to get a sabbatical. It's an honor that my school recognized, even if they don't fully like buy into like Bitcoin as a thing right now, like they recognize that I'm doing like good work and trying to educate people about something that's complicated and hard to learn.
So when you say they don't fully buy into it, is it specific people? Is it who your reporting line?
I mean, I think my boss and my boss's boss are like, hey, it's awesome that you wrote a book, like happy to support it. Like, it looks like you're doing good work. But they're not like Bitcoiners, right? They're not supporting me with the sabbatical because they're into Bitcoin. I tried to explain like, oh, I'm going down and I'm talking to this guy named Peter McCormick, and this is kind of a big deal. And my boss is like, who's that? And why is there a pirate flag? So it's just like explaining and just trying to. A lot of people in my normal life, don't necessarily understand like the attention that the book has gotten in the Bitcoin space, which is great because it allows me to live a normal life day to day. But it's been an interesting dynamic where now that the book is out, people are starting to come around and say, oh, wow, this is actually like a thing. And you are getting a lot of attention and stuff like that. So
have you tried to orange pill them?
Oh, yeah. I think that I've offered a couple of different speaking opportunities at the school where I work. Say, come here and learn about, sort of neocolonialism and Bitcoin's response to it. People came out for that. They wanted to learn. Next week, I'm offering Bitcoin basics, sort of apolitical, like just learn about Bitcoin. I've like 30 or 40 people signed up to come to that. That's just all in my school. So I've gotten a lot of people just sort of piqued and intrigued, wanting to learn more, viewing things from a different angle. I think that a lot of sort of normies out there just don't understand how unfair the current system is. And so by being able to explain it through a Bitcoin lens, totally new to them. And they're like, a good number of them are like, oh, wow, I didn't realize that. And then they want to learn more. They want to engage with it. So
kids as well?
Yeah. So my students are all in on asking me about Bitcoin.
Okay.
So I teach 9 through 12. Mostly
what ages is that?
So that's about 13 to 18.
Okay.
Yeah. So like a good range, formative years. And about a year ago, they knew I was writing this book and, okay, that's kind of exciting. And Mr. Maier, he likes Bitcoin. So if we ask him about Bitcoin, he'll just talk about it. And then if he talks about it for the whole period, then he's not going to give us homework because we didn't learn the stuff we were supposed to learn. So let's just ask him about Bitcoin. And those conversations were usually like, how can I get rich, right? It's like a 15-year-old. How can I get rich with Bitcoin? And then slowly, gradually, I've tried to change the narrative. Like, this isn't about getting rich. It's about changing the world. It's about making the world a better place. And it's not about sort of like getting out of homework. They're actually asking like really good questions. I think I was with a student the other day, and he's just having really good questions about sort of monetary policy, and he understands on some level it's set by these people, and that seems comfortable. But like, what if it's this algorithm? He's just asking really deep questions about the process, and answered all of his questions. Tried to be as sort of neutral as possible. I can't really like sell Bitcoin to my kids, my students, but tried to just answer the questions as best that I could. And he just had this moment, he got quiet. This is like a 16-year-old, 17-year-old kid. And he's like, if what you're saying is true, this has massive implications for the world.
Oh, I love this kid.
And I was like, yes. And what I'm saying is true. And he's like, and I mean like everything, So it's like this kids are making that kind of connection. Whereas like 12 months ago, it was like, how can I get out of math homework and how can I just get rich? Because that's all I care about. I just want to invest money, make more dollars, and then not have to work for it. and just slowly try to disabuse them of that notion. Like, this is not about making more US dollars. It's about changing what money is and using a new technology to make the world a better place. Those conversations have gotten a lot better with colleagues and with students.
So I can't stop going down the AI rabbit hole at the moment.
Yeah.
And I've been in the workplace for 25, 30, is it 25 years? Whatever the number of years are, 25 years-ish. But like we're similar age.
Yeah, we are.
You remember a pre-internet era?
I do.
So, you know, we lived through the internet coming. We've lived through Bitcoin coming. There's lots of fads and things that come. I know that AI is going to have a profound impact on the world.
Yeah.
And so you as a math teacher, teaching kids 13 to 18, I think for the large percentage of that class, by now they've learned everything they're going to use in math for the rest of their life. You're now onto the things whereby there may be needs for specialisms, from some form of engineering, whatever. But and where I'm actually going with this is that I could put up a strong thesis and a strong argument that you teaching them about Bitcoin in a math class is more important than teaching about the math they should be learning at this moment. And the question I keep coming back to at the moment, I've had a couple of conversations here. I don't think the world of schooling, I mean, I think it's been behind for a long time, setting kids up for the future jobs, future workplaces. Now more than ever, I'm looking and going, I'm hugely questioning what my daughter's going to do for the next 5 years in school and whether the majority of it is going to be a complete waste of time. Yeah. And actually, I should be completely rethinking her education and perhaps sending her, there are specialist schools, like a specialist creative schools,
Right,
you know, coming up with real strong skills that may play a role, more of a role in her life. I don't know what you're thinking as a teacher. I mean, teachers talking about AI? I know I'm going down a
it's
different
fine.
rabbit hole here, but
and I'm happy to talk about teaching too. Like what I find fascinating is you're on. So I'm on Bitcoin Twitter and I'm listening to people talk about it, and like they're talking about AI and Chat GPT, and what are the implications, what are the uses, what are the dangers. Months later, teachers get wind of it, you know, like the people I work with, and they're thinking about it completely from the wrong direction, 100%, where they're just worried about kids cheating.
Yeah.
I was like, you idiots need to realize that this is your job, right? Like, this is not about a kid cheating on an essay. This is about you no longer having a job being a teacher. Like, this is what you need to be thinking about, right? So, and try to drill home. Get past like, oh, this kid cheated on this math test or this English essay, right? This is actually about something much bigger. And, you know, I think that, so we're talking about it, the conversation's just starting. And I have a lot to say about the idea of like, what is math education and what's useful and what's important for kids to learn. And you're saying like, all right, by the time you're maybe, 15, you've learned all the math that you need.
maybe earlier.
And that's true for some percentage of the population, maybe even a large part. But there's pretty complicated math that goes into AI. And if you want to make AI, then you need to understand the complicated math, right?
Oh, of course.
And there's pretty interesting and complicated math in Bitcoin. So if you want to really understand Bitcoin, then you should probably know the math. But it's almost a discrepancy where people, if you're good at being a math teacher, it's not about the content, it's about a way of thinking. It's about being critical, finding patterns, recognizing what truth is, recognizing how you can explain yourself in a way that is logical, and you can make a persuasive argument. Like, all of those things are within math teaching too, right? So, and those things don't go away. Like, in fact, they're more important to understand. How can I be skeptical of information that I'm getting? How can I display data that I have? How can I make a calculation to confirm something being told to me? How can I do a back of the envelope, like understanding like, oh, this number that somebody's telling me seems way off. Those are all very important skills. And it's not just about sort of the content acquisition. It's like the soft skills. How do you collaborate with somebody on a mathematical project? How do you actually communicate your ideas in an effective way? That's what I'm doing in my classroom. That's what I'm trying to do. And that's all my colleagues are doing that too. So it's not just, oh, do you know how to take a derivative or do you know how to solve this equation? Like, that's part of it. And you think of it as building blocks for a way of thinking, as opposed to this is just, I'm here and this isn't, I'll never use this again. Well, if you want to be a person who thinks logically and like concretely and can solve problems, then you're going to need math, and you need to train your brain to think that way. It's not just about like, nobody remembers the math that they learned in high school, right? Like very few people, like me, and people who do it for a living. But it's a way of thinking, and I think that's an important way to think about it.
Define cheating.
Well, we went through all of this rigmarole to come up with a new policy. Like, you're allowed to use Chat GPT if the teacher says you can, and you cite it. I think anytime you're submitting work that was somebody else's and you're not giving them credit, that's cheating. And we had to rewrite our rules page to include like AI with that, right? So if you're trying to pass off a certain kind of work as your own, then that's cheating. So.
If my daughter came to me and she said, "Dad, I just got an A in my English essay, and I used ChatGPT to write the majority of it," I think I'd be proud. I'd be, because what I would be thinking is, you've learned a productivity gain that gives you an advantage over everybody else to improve the quality of your work. And the reason I say that is, I've said on the show a lot of times, we're using AI now. Yeah. Did you see the Rail Bedford strategy I put out?
The strategy?
Yeah, like the multiple slides for our strategy for next season.
No.
So I put it out on Twitter. It's like a 25 slide deck.
Okay.
I used ChatGPT to structure that.
Yeah.
And so that gave me a productivity gain, but also an intelligence gain.
Sure.
And so I see it slightly differently. That's just me.
No, I mean, well, it's interesting. I mean, people have been using computers and machines to make their life easy for a very long time, right? There's nothing new about that. It's just a matter of, well, what's being tested, and what skills are you trying to assess? If it is writing on your own or coming up with a persuasive argument, then there might be a place for using AI to help you with that in the real world or in your job or whatever. Like that's happening. There's no doubt about it. So I think the way teachers are thinking about what's cheating and what's productive use and what's more efficient is all in flex, right? Like it's absolutely, like, as a math teacher, like, kids have calculators, right? And there are plenty of times when the questions I'm asking, it doesn't matter if they have a calculator or not. They have to be thoughtful and creative and come up with a way to solve the problem. It doesn't matter if they have that machine in front of them. Other times, like, I'm dealing with a younger student and they need to have some number sense and they need to be able to do a computation. And I take the calculator away and say, well, I'm testing a different skill right now. And so it's just a matter of, like, how do you want to leverage the technology? What are you trying to assess? And what are the real world skills that you're building? Like, using AI to do your job is going to be part of the future. So, like, it would be a misstep for us to eliminate it completely from education.
And do you think your schools had taken quite a progressive approach to accepting AI, considering AI, or is this just happening everywhere?
From my sense is that our school's approach seems consistent with other peer schools and other places. Now, I can't speak for all schools, but I think that there needs to be a balance between understanding what you can enforce, what are the goals you're trying to get at, and, like, how can you actually leverage, like, real intelligent use of these tools. And I think that's what we've been trying to highlight, right? It's not like you can just plug something into Chat GPT and expect it to be good no matter what. You need to actually ask it good questions, or you need to hone what it's giving you. You need to validate the information you're getting. So just thoughtful, intelligent use of the tool.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. And so you actually think there's a genuine threat to the teaching profession?
I think that if teachers are focused on, my students are going to cheat with this exclusively, and they're not thinking about what's my role 15, 20 years from now or 10 years from now, then there could be a threat. I think that good teachers are not going to get replaced. If you're teaching your students how to think critically, how to solve problems that are real world problems, how to be creative, then there's no danger to your job. Like, you're going to have a job. And if that's through the lens of teaching them math or through the lens of teaching them Spanish or English, like, you'll have a job. People are going to want to, send their kids to human beings to learn those kinds of skills. If it's like, we all have the internet in our pocket, right? So, like, you don't need to teach them these facts anymore. Like, how many U.S. Supreme Court justices are there? Well, like, I don't need to know that necessarily, right? I have that in my hand. Any other fact you can pull. What you need to learn is communication skills, critical thinking, problem solving. I keep saying it, but that's really what we need, right? So
do you think there needs to be a rethink of curriculums?
Yes.
The entire structure of schooling?
Yes. Yeah, I think your specialist schools make sense, right? In the future, you have a desire to do something and you're interested in it. There's no reason you need to be sitting for 1 hour in this classroom and moving 1 hour to that classroom and then learning different things necessarily. Like, it's important to have a wide range of like basic knowledge and ways to think. But to specialize in something that a vocation or an interest that you have is absolutely a thing I can see in the near future, right?
I just broke your pen.
That's all right.
I feel terrible.
I brought 2. I don't know how many books I had to sign, so I brought 2 of those orange pens, and I got it free from my work, so it's okay.
Okay, I don't feel so bad. Would
you can keep it.
Would you have Bitcoin in the curriculum, or would you have economics in the curriculum earlier, or money? Would you?
Yeah, I would.
You would, yeah.
I think I think almost nobody talks about money, right? And I think almost nobody understands what it is, how it works. So I think that it's and I'm not talking about like a financial literacy course in high school that teaches you how to like balance your checkbook or pay your taxes. Like, we do not teach money in schools. Like, how does the Fed work? How does the central bank work? How does the treasury work? Like, these things are not taught, and they're not taught for a reason. We know that. So absolutely, I would have Bitcoin, general discussion of money, what money is, general discussion of legacy financial system within a curriculum. I've been asked multiple times to provide that at my school, not by my bosses, right? By people who are like, hey, you should actually teach this. And there's a demand for it, right? Like, there's a demand to learn more about it, because every time I explain something about, this is how the Fed works, or this is what's happening at the IMF, or this is how money gets censored or siphoned away from people in developing nations. Like, people are shocked. Like, they don't understand like that these are real problems in the world. So yeah, I think that there should be a place for Bitcoin specifically, and then just generally money and financial systems within our education system. It's critically important.